And 3 years after President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was sworn in as the 001 of Nigeria, Nigerians are everywhere analyzing, making sense of what Nigeria has been and been like under his watch. And of course, would make sense of that on today's edition of the Polity here on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Nigerians are still calling for the release of the children who were kidnapped from schools in Borno State and Oyo State. Almost two weeks later, they were kidnapped on the 15th of May. Today makes it exactly 2 weeks, 14 days since they were taken away. One of the teachers from Orire in Oyo State was beheaded. Videos of that gruesome killing of somebody's father, husband, son, brother circulated on social media. And of course, we didn't see parties take a break to mourn that and even probably pause whatever madness it is that has been going on in the political circle till these people are released. Unfortunately, they're still in captivity, and it's really a shame. We're still joining our voices to that of thousands of Nigerians asking. These children have parents. They want to see their parents. These children's parents would love to see them again. We are hoping that they are also healthy, at least wherever they are, and that the government does everything humanly possible to rescue them. Good morning to you and welcome to the Polity. I am Chisom Chinedu. Franklin Ebuka is here. Good morning, Frank.
Good morning, Chisom, and good morning, Tony, and likewise every person listening to us this very morning. What a day, 29th day of May 2026. Before the government of Nigeria changed Democracy Day to June 12th, today would have been our Democracy Day. We'll talk about democracy, but ever since it was changed to June 12th, so today is just to commemorate the transition of power from one hand to the other. And today happens to be 3 years anniversary of the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Likewise, some state governors, I think about 26 state governors. In Abia State, the Abia governor has been on a week-long event to mark his 3 years in office. Yesterday, I think it was flagging off of one hospital somewhere in one village. And I think today there's going to be banquet and what have you not as the grand finale of what is happening in Abia State. In Enugu State too, it's still the same thing. So there are states who are also marking the 3rd anniversary, and it's still about time for asking questions, doing the evaluation of how far these government have gone in the past 3 years in terms of delivering dividends of democracy to the people they were elected to lead. So today, of course, is going to be more about doing evaluation on how this government have fared. Then let me also mention about something that trended yesterday. There was one press statement that circulated regarding a notice by Cambodian government to African nationals, those from Kenya, Ghana, and what have you, for them to leave the country. And the way it's been getting attention in the media, and it seems like people have taken just a part of that very information, because it's not just only Africans who were affected. I also know that Chinese were also affected, and those affected are not just every African or any African living in that very country. There are people who have been involved in one crime or the other, and they were convicted. That's why if you read that series, it talks about people who have paid their fines and what have you, and also those who have been living illegally in the country, but they were living on a waiver. Now the waiver has expired, and they are being asked to leave. So I just believe that people will be able to look beyond what has been reported on the surface on their own, find out why these guys were asked to leave Cambodia. So in the course of the program, we're going to bring out other things that might be hitting the point today.
All right, you just reminded me of a video I saw yesterday of a Nigerian man who posted a video. He said, when we arrived in Mauritius, immigration officers separated us, all the Nigerians on board, and questioned us like criminals despite having complete documents. In the end, we were deported like we had committed a serious crime. And, when we raise questions about how Nigerians are treated in other parts of the world, tighter immigration checks, I understand that some other countries might be affected. I mean, when US puts out its rules on immigration, African countries seem to be hit the hardest, and of course some Asian countries as well. But Nigeria, and every time we call for better imaging of the average Nigerian person, it looks like we are asking for too much. I mean, you speak to these fraud boys, and they start to tell you they carted away our gold and artifacts during the slave era, and now they are engaging in fraudulent activities to get back at the average white man. Unfortunately, you are making a mess of the image of the average Nigerian who is not benefiting off your scheme.
Yeah, no. The thing is this: there is a way that what one person does gets to affect the others. Ozoro. And because we have had this very image, and because many Nigerians who live in these countries have not also covered themselves in glory, so it tends to create this perception that every Nigerian is corrupt or every Nigerian has criminal tendency. And sometimes what our people do also has a way of lending credence to that speculation or that perception. I'll give you an instance. Yesterday I came across a story of a woman who was arrested alongside her daughter because two of them were involved in a romance scam. And guess what? The woman in question is just 39 years old, getting involved in a romance scam with the daughter. So what does that tell you? So it's like a moral burden on all of us that we owe Nigeria responsibility to be responsible citizens, because what we do in one way or the other gets to affect the next person. So the earlier we get to understand this, the better for us.
Let's not forget that our politicians are not even helping matters. I mean, every AK market day, any chance they get, they show the world why the average Nigerian is a certain way. It's rather unfortunate. Dr. Tony Olisambeki, good morning. Thank God it's Friday.
Good morning to you, my dear. Good morning, Chisom. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, the good people of Southeast. Good morning, India Anambra. Good morning, Indi Onitsha Donedo. Good morning, Indi Osumo. Good morning, everyone under the reach of our voice. Ndolo Kandolo Ibondin Kozi, the transporters, the commuters, the civil servants, and those who are on daily toil trying to look for what to eat. The great sex problem we have these days is hunger. In DR, Congo DR, probably they are having issues of Ebola outbreak, but here the problem is hunger. Many people are getting into poverty line or below poverty level on daily basis, and that is disturbing. If you want to talk about multi-dimensional poverty, that's over 140 million Nigerians. But if we want to talk about having about $150 per day, I mean, that tells you that many Nigerians are actually going through a lot. We acknowledge that. We thank God Almighty for His grace, for His love, for all He has been doing for us, for bringing us back in our sanctuary, in this altar of the Most High, to profess the truth, not the way it will please some minds, but the way it will please God. We are back because we are ministers of truth. We are not ministers of religion. Ministers of truth. That's what we are here to do, and that is our work. And also note, wanted to mention, today marks exactly the 3rd anniversary of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, which Franklin also pointed out that we're going to talk extensively. By this time, 3 years ago, the president had mounted the podium and also observed guards of honor as the winner of the contest declared by INEC to take over the baton of leadership from former President Muhammadu Buhari. We're going to look at certain things, certain changes extensively on the program, but we must also let you know that today is Friday and it's a day to wind down, because we have put so much effort throughout the week, but it's time for us to relax. Relaxation should be something we should not joke with. But families are struggling, and I'm so much concerned about our plan, national plan for households, how they make their money and how these things trickle down. We talked about children the other day, about 2 days ago, extensively. But I did say that you cannot extricate family from children. They are symbiotic. They are synonymous. We thank you all because it's not easy to listen, and we appreciate you, and we ask you to sit back and enjoy the program.
All right, then. Now we're going to tell you what the front pages of the papers say. But before we get into that, I just got a report that particular document, Frank, about Cambodia and new immigration rules is entirely fake.
That's what I'm saying. That's whatever people have been saying. If you go through it, there are some elements of falsification in what is being put out there. Yes, Cambodia, they have this very thing about trying to sanitize, but the way it is being pushed out is entirely false.
All right, then, on our table this morning, we have the Punch newspaper, we have This Day, we have Vanguard, and we have The Guardian. And much of the paper is advertorials. This Day has the banner headline being 3 years in office, Tinubu defends reforms, says Nigeria undergoing historic test. On page 36, reveals he inherited economy on brink of fiscal breakdown. Also, US-Iran negotiators reached a tentative deal to extend ceasefire, launch nuclear talks. There are riders, modalities for reopening Strait of Hormuz awaits Trump approval. WEF expected impact of shipping route closure to near COVID-19 severity. That's interesting. Find that on page 36. And on page 10, Bank of Industry wins Sustainable Bank of the Year at African Banker Awards 2026.
Okay, so on the front page of Punch newspaper, third anniversary, tough reforms ended forex subsidy racket, says Tinubu. 2027 presidency waves off Atiku threat as ex-VP Uzamechi. Ebola emergency watch begins in Lagos FCT A State. FG World Bank restructure $500 million education funding program. This one says NDC ratifies Obi as presidential candidate today. 1,000 Lagos residents get salary rams at 80,000 naira. This one says over 80% of IC's operations now in West Africa. That's quite
Concerning.
Scary, yes. City Boys movement disowns membership claim of alleged U.S. convict. Slain commander tracked 6 months by U.S. drones. ISWAP. And the last one here says, I want to win trophies for Eagles. Okonkwo, that's Arthur Okonkwo, the one that just debuted for Nigeria in that very unity cup between Nigeria and Zimbabwe.
All right, then, another paper on our table this morning would be the Vanguard, and the banner headline, of course, like other papers, is 3 years of pains, promises, citizens groan under soaring costs while key sectors struggle. And this story is on page 41. It has some riders. Economy gains pains and missed targets. Fiscal blues, massive revenue increase, poor budget performance. It's not very clear, so I am trying to zoom in to see. 1,095 days after Tinubu's long war against insecurity, a struggling power sector, despite reforms, bold resets amid shrinking democratic space, student loan scheme as game changer. All of these on page 41. On page 10, 3 years of enduring and inclusive progress in Cross River State. Like Franklin said, for some states, it's also 3 years of their state's governors being in office. Tinubu to Nigerians, your sacrifices won't be in vain. On page 9, he says, my government will not relent until every Nigerian can live, work, travel in safety. Interesting. More woes for electricity consumers as power generation dips. Find that on page 19 of the Vanguard newspaper.
You know, this very morning I took my time to look at the front pages of all papers in Nigeria. All of them have this advertorial of Mr. President's 3 years anniversary, and with the title of Promises Delivered, a Renewed Hope Agenda.
Who sponsored this?
All of them. It's the Ministry of
Information and National Orientation. Interesting.
And I've done my calculation. If you're going to place an advertorial on the front page of Guardian newspaper, it's around 600,000 naira. And then, so if you calculate what they have done this very
if it's
morning,
on the front page,
on the
Frank,
front
it's
page,
more than that.
it's about 600 pounds depending. Now, it varies on papers. There are some papers you go to, you get it around that. Some can even go as high as 1 million naira, depending on that very paper. And then they have placed all these things in the front pages, trying to tell us that the government is working.
At least it's not anti at this time.
My question is, so when we spend money to tell Nigerians that Nigeria is working, but Nigerians are feeling the opposite. So what are we actually doing? Well, let's get to the front page of Ghana newspaper. The big story there is on page 6. It says Tinubu defends reforms as critics decry hardship insecurity. 2027, we must unite to rescue Nigeria. Article tells ADC aspirants on page 4. Coalition estimates 980,000. I'm sorry. Coalition estimates 19,980 killings, 12,362 abductions in 3 years on page 4. Turaki-led PDP to ratify Jonathan's presidential nomination bid on page 9 of The Guardian. Then the front page is, like I said before, taken over by the advertorial for Mr. President third anniversary.
All right, then let's dive into the conversation proper. But before then, let's remind you we're live on Facebook. Udala Radio 104.7 FM is our handle. And Tony, 3 years in office, Tinubu defends reforms, says Nigeria undergoing historic test. This is according to this day newspaper. And of course, he's revealed he inherited economy on brink of fiscal breakdown. He has listed gains in infrastructure, energy, telecoms, housing, education, others. He insists that painful changes restoring investor, or rather, the changes are painful, but restoring investor confidence and, of course, stabilizing the economy. He's thanking Nigerians for patience and sacrifice. And the big question a lot of persons are asking at this point is the reality the average Nigerian has come to live with and the promises that are spoken of on the tabloids seem to be worlds apart. I mean, for instance, the presidency said the reforms are already restoring investor confidence and improving infrastructure. And the question is, looking around us, do you think that these reforms are really restoring investor confidence? How much investment do we have actually on ground, and are Nigerians really feeling the impact? Also, critics argue that while macroeconomics indicators may be improving, ordinary Nigerians are facing worsening hardship, inflation, rising food prices, unemployment, insecurity. And they've described the last 3 years as a period of severe economic pain for citizens. And it brings me to my questions. If the reforms are succeeding, why are many Nigerians then complaining? Like I said, is what the government officials seeing different from the reality of our lives? Is this not the same Nigeria, or is there a Nigeria for the politicians and a Nigeria for the average citizen?
Well, I think you asked the investment Mr. President has been able to attract or brought into the country since he became the president of Federal Republic of Nigeria. Well, if you ask that question, one would tell you there are investments, no doubts. But are these investments translated into the welfare, the well-being of ordinary Nigerians?
That's my major question.
Let's quickly let you know. Yes, he has attracted foreign direct investment. I know about this issue of Shell, Anglo-Dutch. I think it was in 2024. About $5 billion foreign direct investment for Bonga North Deep Water Project, with additional $2 billion in HI gas project. There was also another investment, but it was pledged anyway. It has not been consummated. Total Energies, France, where they pledged $6 billion in oil and gas investment, offshore and also gas production. And also you can talk about the ExxonMobil from United States of America, where they committed about $1.5 billion for deep water fields. We can talk about even Indorama. I talked about this one the other day. Indorama, an Indian-based group. They were so much concerned in expansions in fertilizer and petrochemicals, and part of the broader $8 billion level commitments where they have timeline between 2003 down to 2025. So we can talk about this. Even in the manufacturing and steel industry, remember the Jindal Steel, India, we are about $3 billion steel processing mill and also related projects, part of about $14 billion total India-related commitments. We can go on and talk about this, even in logistics and also broader economy. But the issue is not about this investment, because you asked, has he brought investment as a president? And I have been able to establish some of this and also confirm this investment. But that's not the key issue. It's one thing, because we look at Nigerians, many of them, like I said earlier on, are suffering from one major disease, and that is hunger. That's the major disease. The major disease from every indicator, from every index. That's what many Nigerians are passing through. I recall this very day, before Mr. President, I don't know if I could have brought the speech he made 3 years ago, and where we are coming from. Yes, the truth remains that when he came in as the president of this very country, he wouldn't say there were no problems. The truth remains that there were major problems in many areas, no doubt. But how he went about these problems is the key issue we are debating about. How he went about them. Yes, because there was heavy fuel subsidy that cost billions or trillions of naira annually, and that was affecting government finances, government revenue. Government literally had nothing to work with as a result of the subsidy regime. The three aspirants who later became candidates for their different political parties said that they were going to phase out subsidy. In fact, in one of the cases, Peter said he was going to do that immediately, but he did not outline the modes, the modus operandi, how that will be done. There were multiple exchange rates that discouraged investors during the time Mr. President came to power. I recall then the official dollar rate at that time was about 420 naira per dollar, but there are different markets where you could get it at 700 and something naira per dollar. There are those that will say 600 and something naira per dollar. And there was this push for us to unify these rates. Officially 420 naira per dollar, but we are told that it was pegged by the central bank artificially, and that was the reason we cannot pay off debts. There are so many foreign companies operating in this country, and they render their services and we pay them in naira. They cannot repatriate, they cannot exchange this naira in dollars and repatriate to their respective countries, as done all over the world. And there were backlogs, and as a result of that, they increased Nigerian rates in the services they provide. Talk about airline companies and so many other companies like that. We had that problem. There was also rising problem of public debt. We know what Buhari left as debt burden. In fact, the debt burden to the revenue ratio was close to almost 98%. Debt to revenue. I'm talking about debt to revenue ratio. Also, maybe there were widespread oil theft, high inflation, in fact, inherited inflation at rate of 22.4%. Also, there was growing insecurity in several regions. Electricity was an issue. That was one of the cases we've been talking about. Where Mr. President said, if I cannot give you electricity in 4 years, don't vote me again. And there was also a case of slow GDP growth after years of economic shocks. Recall that when Buhari took over, we had recession, 2 consecutive negative economic growths. Back to back, we also had another recession, and many things we can go on to recall. Now the question, these were some of the problems Mr. President inherited or met when he became the president. How did he go about it? He felt that for us to show up government revenue, subsidy must go. How did he?
Can I put in that, Tony? Because initially my question, you answered is a part of it. These investments, you've listed them, but there is the second question, which is like the crux of the matter. Is the average Nigerian on the same page with these realities?
No, I'm just laying the foundation to the second question. All these things I'm doing, I'm just laying the foundation.
All right, take your time.
How the government got us where we are and what they did. Now, we now look at what the government did. Of course, they removed the subsidy immediately from the point of speech when the president has not even formed his cabinet, when he has not even assessed his office as a president. The first thing he did was to, from the moment of his first speech, remove subsidy. I have not seen that before. And many of us will read such methodology and said that was wrong. And the effect and impact was so massive. I remember that very day. I bought petrol, 220 naira in the morning. Immediately after the speech, I ran back to the same petrol station where I bought 220 naira. They sold 510 naira immediately after the speech. Then I thought this could go up if care is not taken. I went back again around 7 p.m. Then I bought 600, I think it was 600 and something naira. The next day it was 700 and something. That was the kind of shocks many Nigerians, and these things had ripple effects. The way and money went about it was completely wrong. Now, we've seen these reforms. Mr. President introduced many reforms to either bridge the gap, the unification of the exchange rate. Where did that leave us to? But so far, immediately the first subsidy was removed in the manner and the way it was removed. It caused a lot of effect. Transportation went so high, cost of living went so high, housing went so high, so many things went so high. And inflation moved from 22.4% as inherited down to about 40% immediately. But the president was saying that it was necessary pain that will usher in a sustainable growth and also sustainable development. That's what Mr. President said. But the truth is that we have to look at those things, because I'm coming back to your question. These things Mr. President has done, have these things impacted on the welfare, the well-being of an ordinary Nigerian? How has his packages or some of these things he has done, how has this thing impacted on our people? But we are going to tell you that we have seen negative impacts. That's what we've seen so far. Negative in many ways, because that has thrown many Nigerians into poverty. Many Nigerians are swimming in the ocean of poverty as we speak right now. We are talking about investment. The key areas of the economy that needed to be taught, that needed to be recalibrated, these things were left undone. And then look at the issue of insecurity, look at the issue of electricity, look at the issue of prices of food items in the market, look at the issue of unemployment, look at the issue of aggregate demand and supply issues. And this is where we are. Recall, with this, Nigerian government rebased our GDP. That was why the GDP fell from over 400 and something billion Mr. President inherited down to about $150 billion. I'm talking about our gross domestic product. Because of that rebasing, and then he devalued the naira. He felt that it was necessary to achieve certain economic targets and economic growth. Naira devaluation, and also unification of the multiple exchange rates, the removal of subsidy, and also introduction of new tax reforms. The one we saw Mr. Taiwo Oyedele introduce, where he had aimed at bringing more people into the tax net. The problem is, where are we today? And then if you compare Nigerian president, I think Mr. President first 3 years in office, and then that of Obasanjo, Yaradua, Jonathan, and Buhari, slightly. The only person I could say that he was slightly better than, slightly, but which later on he could not even have maybe everything stabilized, was Buhari. Because the first 3 years of Buhari's administration, we went into recession twice, and that brought so much hunger, so much issue. But the issue of subsidy sustained cost of living, because Buhari said no, that he wasn't going to remove that, because if he does that, that's the only thing he feels that It is visible before Nigerians that government is doing for them. Subsidy over what we are operating, and not just operating what we have as a country. So the point is, if you look at Mr. President 3 years, it has been pains, sorrow. But according to him, he says, I feel your pains. That's what he said.
Tony, can I come in here? If you look at how Nigerians perceive this very government, led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, it's largely dependent on how the government manage this issue of subsidy removal. Whatever Nigerians are complaining about now, if you check, maybe 60% of them boils down to the effects of the subsidy removal, the foreign exchange harmonization, and any other thing. And that has for a long time decided how people perceive this very government. Now I want us to look at the basics of this very government and see how we can evaluate it based on other indices. If you go across the world all over, there are fundamental or common indices used in judging the government. But I will leave that for now. Let's look at the entirety of the Nigerian political economy. Let's begin with the basics. In terms of economy, what can we say that this government has done? Can we say this government has been able to stabilize the economy? That the economy is on the path of growth again? Then in the area of electricity, what has the government done? Are we moving forward? Are we moving backwards? In the past 3 years, have we moved forward or we moved backwards? You talk about agriculture. You talk about housing. Just talk about the basic sectors of the economy. How have we fared in these past 3 years? Are we making progress? Are we seeing signs that the future could be better?
Well, if you look at some of the things you pointed out earlier on, because we are judging on the surface, we are not judging on what government tells us that it is putting in place that would change the narration in 3 years, in 4 years' time. We are judging on the surface and possibly see if we are making progress or not. I've said it earlier on that significantly cost of living has worsened. Once fuel subsidy was removed the way and money was removed, the transport, food costs, these things surged. Even the housing costs and what have you. The agricultural products, because even the insecurity affected farmers accessing farmlands. And that was why bag of rice went as high as 100 and something. Have you forgotten? Until the government lifted the embargo on importation of foreign rice. If not for that embargo being lifted, by now, I don't know what it could have been. Because government saw the need to do that because of the high cost of rice. Because we are relying on locally produced rice. That is what. Because government has said that it has been able to put about 2,770,000 kilometers. That's what government, and then in superhighway and some constructions going on around the country, Port Harcourt, Enugu Port Harcourt Expressway, on nature, Enugu, on some other decent roads, and that's for the east. You talk about the ones in the west, Lagos, Ogun, Ilesha, Shagamu, some of these projects. In fact, Abuja, Kaduna, the coastal superhighways and all that. These are some of the projects government says is doing. But many Nigerians are wondering, how can they access these projects while hungry? That the issue is hunger, and government has not been able to address the issue of hunger. That is the key issue.
How do you address hunger when you haven't addressed insecurity? Our schools are not safe. How then would our farms be safe?
You talk about addressing. They are connected. Because if you look at from what you read out, that so far under 3 years, about how many thousand Nigerians have died from reports, different reports, which I cannot confirm. Some had it that about 19,000 people have died. Some had it that about 18,000 people have died. There was this report I saw that on average about 2,000 people die annually on insecurity related issues. And for records, that has worsened under the present administration beyond what was inherited, what was met, because government prides itself that he has been able to change the narration in the area of bombing, explosives being detonated and all that. But this has taken a different dimension. Kidnapping has also expanded. In fact, it looks widespread. It looks as the most thriving shadow economy in our own country. And government has not been able to deal decisively with the issue of insecurity. And I thought that Mr. President, when he proposed state police and then rallied governors and every stakeholder for them to put things, I thought that would have gone a long way. But because of issue of election, many Nigerians cannot see that which was promixed. And we felt and we thought it is one of the ways to go in addressing the issue of insecurity. But coming back to issue of jobs, because you can't tell me, because if you look at some of these foreign direct investment we are talking about in the area of oil and gas, majorly, we are talking about the manufacturing sector. If we have this investment in such area, many Nigerians will be employed. Not everybody is skilled to work in oil and gas sector or in logistics sector or in transport sector, but we are looking at it from the angle of the manufacturing sector, where anybody can perform any role, being taught on what to do, and that is one of the areas suffering, and that's why we are still dependent on certain importations, and we are in import dependent country, and that has not also been addressed. I don't want to go into issues of our trade volume with different countries and what we produce. And you look at the candidate, because he's going to be the candidate of NDC at the end of the day. He has been saying that we are going to move from consumption economy to production economy, and probably he is looking in that direction, the direction of attracting investment in the area of manufacturing. But they cannot come, being that we've not been able to face the energy crisis. Manufacturing firms, because they will come with big machines, and these machines definitely we need power, and the cost of running industries in this country without power, if you are dependent on independent power supply like diesel and some other things, it will cost you a whole lot. Shops have been closing down. We saw ShopRite, it closed down. We've seen Dunlop, it closed down, and many of them are going to Ghana. Why? Because they cannot sustain their investment, they cannot sustain the cost of operation, they cannot sustain running the company as a result of energy and insecurity. Government felt that we have been able to stabilize dollar naira exchange rate, but there are other key areas, key factors that have not been able to government has not been able to address. These things affect the general well-being and welfare of the country. For me, the government seems to have looked the critical areas and focused on the ones that would help the elites, and that's why some people will tell you that the government of Bola Tinubu is the government of elites. For the elites, that's what some people do say. That it seems that he hasn't been able to look the other way around to see his government to affect or impress or to address certain issues affecting the common masses. And even the government removed subsidy, they promised quite a lot. They will introduce CNG buses across different regions in the country. There will be CNG stations that will be everywhere, and ask Nigerians to convert from petrol engines to CNG engines.
It looks like we're no longer having a conversation about CNG.
That is the point I'm trying to make. And I remember when the Labour president made so much noise about it, and they met Mr. President and they started singing for him that he's a jolly good fellow, and Mr. President handed some CNG buses to them. Till date, nobody is talking about that. Cost of transportation is draining Nigerians. There are those that are paid 100,000. Their cost of transporting themselves to their workplaces will be as high as 50-something thousand. So cost of transportation has taken half of the money you have been paid, without other areas being addressed. The real problem I think the government has neglected is the problems I have listed: the general welfare and the well-being of Nigerians, the transportation costs. And for you to address this issue of transportation costs, if you say you are going to bring CNG buses, you have to live up to that. That seems to have been forgotten. And the issue of food prices, housing costs. And I was talking with somebody the other day. The person told me that he saw 2-bedroom apartment newly built in a house around this Onitsha area. He was asked to pay 1.8 million, and then it will stabilize to 1.5. That's what they say, 1.8 to pay 1.5.
Where, please?
Around this area, around this very office. I may not need to, around this office.
1.5 million for
1.8 to pay 1.5.
And 1.8 is normally their ego-G lawyer
Something like
portion
that.
fee. So, but
2-bedroom.
the rent is 1.5
The rent is 1.5
for 12 months.
for 12 months. 2-bedroom apartment. It's so in most places. If you go to Oka, in fact, you will be amazed. You'll be astounded. In Oka, such apartment will cost 2-something million. In Asaba, such apartment will cost 2-something. See,
Why then are we crying about the increase in rate crime when we all encourage it?
But that's the point. That if you ask some of these developers, they will tell you cost of building a house or some of these building materials, their cost is so very
The cost
dear.
of building is high.
It's
but
dear.
1.5
The
million
point is,
for a 2-bedroom apartment.
What is the cost of cement? A bag of cement. We are told a bag of cement is, as we speak, there is about 11,000 plus. And if you look at cost of building, shipping is how much? The truth remains that these are areas, key areas, government seems to have failed to address. How do you stabilize prices? How do you put control, and even if it's artificial control, we know prices are being guided by the forces of demand and supply, and when the supplies are not there, definitely it will go up. There's no doubt. And also it's also affected by exchange rates, especially when those things are not produced in this country. If they are coming out or if they are coming in from wherever they are being produced, exchange rate affects a lot of things. And then also the supply chains, and there are a lot of factors. Nigeria is actually at the crossroad, at the precipice. The best 3 years of office we had under any president from 1999 was during the time of Yaradua. Do you know during the time of Yaradua, our GDP growth averaged at about 15-point-something%.
Well, we are clapping for 3 points now.
No. But right now we are around 2.5, 2.6, and all that on average. But there was a time that we were told that we peaked. No, we are talking about year on year. We are not talking about per quarter. There are some quarters we got about 3-point-something.
Yeah, because first quarter of
Yes,
2020.
there are some quarters we got, but we are talking about year on year. Year on year, we have not averaged 3-point-something. But I'm talking about year on year under Yaradua. And after Yaradua government, the next, I have the statistics here with me. The next was Obasanjo regime.
Do you think that politicking has given governance a back seat in this administration?
What?
I'll repeat my question. Do you think that politicking has given governance a back seat in this administration? And I mean generically. Remember Rivers? Remember different parts of the country? Remember Nigeria generically, where it's been a mission, project for 2027, put the statistics on paper, but actually the people are not living this lie.
Well, if you ask, there is no way you will extinguish or extricate or separate governance from politics. Both of them, they are two in one. They are more like Siamese twins.
You think so?
Of course, everywhere in the world.
Frank, do you agree?
Definitely, they are married.
You cannot die. You cannot divulge it too.
You cannot even divulge it too.
They go hand in hand. But the problem is that we pay more attention to politics.
That is the point.
So this idea of doing one tenure and focusing on governance, are you trying to say it's not feasible?
No, the thing is, we must look at our issues, because you are bringing the argument from the angle that the governments do face politics as against governance, which is valid, which is germane, but that's true. But the truth is that they have been unable to balance the two. It's through your governance, you use it to play politics, but they are trying to play politics of manipulation without even addressing key indices. And I've said it many times, for those who think that the yardstick for being re-elected as a president is based on performance, they are making a mistake. I've seen places. Jonathan did not lose in 2015 as a result of bad performance. Not at all. He lost as a result of conspiracy by northern oligarchy. That was how he lost. And he played into their hands. Not because of performance. Jonathan's government, based on what we are seeing now, immediately after Obasanjo, the next is Jonathan. Yaradua first, Obasanjo second. We are talking about the first 4 years. Jonathan third. Buhari and the Tinubu, we are trying to see, who is better off. But the point I'm trying to make here is that if no matter how bad a government is, during elections, the basis for re-electing a president is not on performance. He has always been on politics.
So why does it look like at the end of the day, if we're accepting that you cannot separate the two, it means we are accepting what we have gotten? I would give you an instance. From the inception, from 29th of May 2023, we have been having the same conversations about governance. Now, we haven't moved from, we have done this, look at the next stage, look at the other stage. We are still on the actual, we will do this. And most of these things have eventually not been done at all. But one thing that has been sustained is Mission 2027. And if you cast your mind back, it has been sustained. From the very moment 2023 was actualized, Project 2027 began. And I am curious to find out why we continue accepting it. And also looking at the average Nigerian who's come to be the victim in all of the scheme, I am curious to find out if you see this as a call for the average Nigerian to be more politically awakened.
Well, that's what it should be ordinarily, because from the way things are going on, we should make elections to be performance driven. The politicians do not want it to be performance driven. If we are all politically conscious, politically aware, politically involved, show participations, we take over from the politicians.
Is there something that people can do about that?
Definitely. We are talking about voters card now. I will tell you that so many people who have not even got their voters cards, for them, they are not interested because politicians do not fulfill their promise. We look at information, statistics, and data. We are over 240 million people, and we are told that we have a voting population of about, things put together, over 130 million voting population. But if you look at around the number, you find out that about 87 million or 84 million or thereabout within that range are the ones registered. So it also implies that over maybe 30 something million people, eligible voters, are not even captured. They are not interested. If you come down to the number of these registered voters during election, you find out that 25% of them are the ones involved. So what it means that 75% are not involved. It's a very big problem, and that's to tell you that is why we have left everything in the hands of politicians. If we show more participation, politicians will have Nigerians to contend with.
So today, if you look at the renewable agenda of Mr. President, upon which he anchored the principles of his government, you see that many things were itemized there. You will see issues like national security, economy, agriculture, power, oil and gas, transportation, education, health, digital economy, foreign policy, federalism and decentralization of power. There's also judicial reform. There is social programs, women empowerment, youth empowerment, sports, entertainment and culture. All these things were itemized and identified as areas this government would like to look into. And we're now counting 3 years after. Some persons might advance, an argument that 3 years is not enough to assess a government that has 4 years. But the question has always been, if you say 3 years is not enough, so how long is enough? Because when these people are campaigning, they are not campaigning on the ground that they're going to stay 8 years. They campaign on the ground that the tenure is 4 years. Then if it's renewed, then that becomes a different thing altogether. But if you look at all this table of content, and then we now come to the basis, which is the areas that mostly affect Nigerians, that if government does anything in these areas, people will be able to feel the impact. Exactly. You talk about the infrastructure. What is happening there? You talk about these so-called judicial reforms. What are we doing there? Then talk about the federalism and this introduction of power that this government, when it began initially, it made some moves. And Nigeria were thinking that maybe he's going to entrench through federalism. Talk about the famous litigation which was filed by the AGF regarding autonomy of local governments. We know how it has ended. So if you look at those areas that people can easily feel, national security, what is going on there? Are you going to score the government an F, or you can say government has done something, but what it has done isn't enough for us to feel the impact as Nigerians?
Well, if you look at some of the things contained in that very list, the renewed hope agenda, as you rightly pointed some of them out, I will tell you that the government of the day seem not to have performed any to the level that one would say the government has done something. Are you going to talk about federalism when we know that it's a question of the federal government handles national matters while the states or regions control local affairs and have enough resources to do so effectively? Government will tell you that we've been able to make available resources at subnationals for them to do some of these works, because as a result of subsidy removal, many governors have more money to work with. Is one of the things they pride themselves. Of course, we must give them credit to that, but it comes at the expense of the welfare and well-being of Nigerians. And the subnationals have not been able to use social safety nets to absorb these shocks. Even the federal government has not been able to do so, and that's why many Nigerians are living in penury. You talked about the issue of judicial reforms. We have not seen that. In fact, it's getting worse. Many Nigerians don't even have confidence in judiciary. We are told that judiciary should be totally and overtly accountable to Nigerians, and people will have absolute and resolute confidence approaching a court of competent jurisdiction for any matter, but that hasn't been done. What we've seen so far is the Minister of FCT building quarters for judiciary, for me, which ought not to be. We have said it many times that you do not come in between. You do not even come near the line. Judiciary should be totally independent. Building anything, exchanging gifts, giving them anything is undermining their independence, and that should not be encouraged. And that's why many people felt today that if you have a case with the FCT minister and you approach the new federal high court, especially those in Abuja, you are wasting your time. And we cannot have such impression growing in the country. It's an anomaly, it's an anomaly. We must cardinalize it that at no point should any executive construct or do anything for the judiciary, and judiciary should be seen to be accountable to its operations. And we are talking about even the chief the chief judge of the federal high court, the president of the court of appeal, the one in charge of the NJC, and all these people. Their operations that should be reforms whereby one man cannot decide a lot of things. And we have said something about case appointment. Assigning cases should be random, should be something computer based. It shouldn't be something somebody will look at the face and know the kind of thing you'll be able to do and assign such a case to you. Not at all. We should have a system whereby you cannot predict what would happen, in a way that if somebody had gone to court to structure things the way he wants the outcome to be, because of certain things we have put in place, you cannot predict how the outcome will turn up. That is the kind of reforms, and we want us, the judiciary, to be well funded, and they should be part of the signatory to the consolidated revenue. The sole signatory to that account is the federal government. They dish out money to subnationals, they dish out money to INEC, they dish out money to judiciary. It should not be so. These bodies that their funds come from consolidated revenue should be signatory. Judiciary, you don't give them, they take from the vote, the way you take from the vote. They should be seen to be independent. You don't give them, they take from the vote the way you take from. These are some of the reforms we are looking at to bring credibility in a lot of things. The same goes to INEC. You don't give INEC take from the vote as expected, as providing the law. They go to the vote and take from the vote. You don't pay them, you don't give them, you don't dictate for them. We need certain reforms in these areas, and I've said it many times. Nigeria is not as complex as we think, because if you target the key areas, target energy, transportation, housing, a lot will change. In the issue of security, these are four things that will change the narration. Tackle security, tackle issue of housing, tackle issue of transportation, tackle issue of food production. If you tackle these 4 or 5 things I mentioned, a lot will change. Because why constructing the superhighway where many Nigerians are sleeping under the bridges, where we don't even have middle class. Middle class seems to have gone. Before now, we have the low income class, the middle class, and high income earners. Now one has gone. And that is why many of them cannot even afford stable homes. And they are being exploited by greedy landlords and developers everywhere. Do you blame them? Because they have the environment to fest on. We can go on and talk about some of these things. It's, for me, a white change or drift from priority areas. There are things that should be the priority as far as governance is concerned in this country, not the way we are seeing it. And so far, I don't think government seems to have addressed some of these key areas. And that's why Nigerians are feeling aloof and believing that they are disconnected from the government. That's the belief. And those who say, I don't know whether it is true or not true, that the government is the government of the elite, by the elite, and for the elite. How true could this be? How true?
Okay, so projections, Tony, as we round off. We have 1 more year to go. By January, we should be having another election. What is it you would have to say to the average Nigerian who is, living this reality right now?
Well, I have said it many times. We are partly caused of our problem. We are partly caused of our problems. And I've said many times, when you say, I don't want to get involved, they should decide your fate. And they are deciding your fate.
Thank you.
You are the one complaining. You are the one groaning. And you are calling on Trump to come and intervene. You are calling on Israel to come and intervene, even when you have not even played a role. I've said this many times. We must get involved. We must be politically involved. The way we are involved in the area of sports.
What we talk about, we must get involved, because we always use that very term.
Yeah.
To get involved, what does that mean? In what way? How can people actually get involved, knowing the kind of system that we're on here?
All right. There are many ways we can get involved. I have talked about the electoral way. Electoral way. Where we need more people to be part of electoral system, to be part of electoral processes. I've said that one, and I've given clarifications on that. You don't have voting strength or eligible voting strength of about 130 million. You have about 80-something million registered, and out of that 80-something million registered, you have about 25% of them who are maybe involved, and then the rest 75% are not involved. And what we say, why would you blame those people? You will blame them because they're the one crying. And nobody helps you. Most countries we see everywhere in the world, their citizens change a lot. France, who changed France to what it is today? Citizens. Who changed Spain to what it is today? Citizens. Who changed Germany to what it is today? Citizens. If you name any country, I will tell you the role the citizens play. Even with the guns at their head, with the brutality they face. Even UK, who changed UK the way the citizens. But they apply this pressure on the politicians.
But that's my question, right. Because that issue of mounting pressure, Nigerians will tell you that we've been talking, they do not hear us. Right. And that's what many Nigerians know that as the way to mount pressure. Talk. So apart from that very talking, which seems to be getting no result. Yeah. So what are those ways people can use to mount this pressure on people who are in political offices, the political leaders? How can they even get to engage, get to be involved, get to participate, to ensure that they get to force that change that Nigeria needs?
Right? It is advocacy. There are those who have started advocacy, telling Nigerians this is the way to go. I don't want to call their names. When they come to share your rice, do you accept or do you reject? Do you know when people say no to rice sharing, no to noodles sharing, no to all these peanuts being given to them before elections, and say we don't want you? It takes a lot, hunger, to say no. In the presence, in the midst of hunger, you are saying no. You prefer to even die, but let your children live. We don't have thought mindset. Can we do this sacrifice? Can we, for the sake of our children, say no to some of these things? Apart from that, there are many ways to play advocacy. And advocacy is one of the best means of enlightenment in different languages, telling people that the old ways of doing this, being docile, accepting, going for little, is over. Simple advocacy. Before you know it, it drives around. It's through advocacy that war usually start. It's through advocacy that a lot of things happen. It is not by magic. You can't just preach people to go violent. You cannot tell people, because nothing comes out of it. Nothing comes out. It's through advocacy that these are things we should do. These are things we should reject. And when it is time, these are things we must do. How many of us will say during election, mommy, daddy, you are not voting. If you don't vote, this family will not content both of us. We must do things right. Even when we think our votes do not count. How do we make, when the people besiege the umpires, how many are the umpires that will change some of these things? How many will you change? There are ways, things you can. There are few people that announce election result and run away from the country because they know that what they announced was actually not what was written, and then they know that the people know the truth. We know what to do. The truth remains that we speak on Facebook. That's where it ends. We talk on radio. That's where it ends. And apart from that, we are so much enthusiastic about sports. If this should be a sports program, do you know how many people that will be interested? But it is political program. If that's what they will tell you.
Okay. But, can I add something?
Right,
there's something I want Nigerians to learn from politicians or those who are actively involved in politics. When you come close to them, you will learn a whole lot. As a common man, if you're actually observant, if you see people who have formed groups for political negotiation, they are very tactical. When you come to them as an aspirant or as a candidate, they tell you the terms and conditions. If you want my support, this is what you're going to give to me in return, or this is what you're going to give to our group in return. And even in most cases, they sign it. So by the time you have acquired the power through their support, they will come and ask you the terms and conditions or the agreement we reached, how far about it. And if you renege, they find a way to get back at you. So if people are going to cultivate this kind of culture whereby, because I know that during elections, these aspirants and candidates, they do come to us to seek our support. They either come for town union meeting, come to our villages, call us for meetings, and we all attend. But when we attend, what do we do there? We clap, we cheer, we collect rice, I got off our Ojebego. And nobody's being bothers to question the character of the person to know whether he's a good person or not. All we care about is just that cheering that we do. That is what we call political engagement. But people who have understood this very art, the politicians, they will sit you down, call you for meeting. They negotiate with you and tell you these and these are what we're asking from you. And if you agree, they give you support. But in our own case, we don't do that. Then another one is the issue of do we actually care about people who represent us in the legislature? Because sometimes we think about the presidency as the only all, that everything begins and ends there. But you forget that if you have a strong legislature, some of these shenanigans of the executive, they are going to be curtailed. But we care about the presidency a lot, then we elect all manner of people into the legislature, whether at the state level or the federal level. And when they go there, they become Hosanna singers on your mandate to stand. That's what they do. And when these people now come to seek our vote, those lawmakers, what most of us are concerned about is our personal benefit. Nobody's thinking about, okay, if we are going to give our vote, give us commitment that this road that leads from so and so place to so and so, you're going to do fixed. Nobody think about it. We're thinking about, okay, if we are going to do this, are you going to send my kid to Budoibo? Okay, are you going to pay my school, my son's school fees? These are the kind of things we're asking. We're asking for, personal gains other than collective gains. And then you now look at the way we vote. In the last election, 2023, many persons got access or got into the National Assembly and State Assembly because of Obi wave. Because people here liked Obi, and they went and voted Labour Party across board. What happened? Those people disappointed. Many of them left Labour Party and joined another party. And now in those parties where they had been denied tickets, they are coming back to NDC to still use Obi's influence to get back. And guess what? on election day, people will still go and do NDC across board.
That is the point.
And you elect people who do not have character. So are we looking at the character of the people we think about for political leadership? Because we don't actually care. All we care about is onye ojikwa ego. Omuneje campaign ogekekwa ife. This is the kind of thing we think about. We're not thinking about something sustainable, because I'm just wondering whereby if a politician comes to campaign in your community and all of you, maybe of course before they come they give you notice, and somebody organizes, be it PG or whoever is coordinating, and people will sit down and say, this is the commitment we must extract from this very person, and we must be able to speak truth to power. I mean, we're able to speak to his face and say, if you don't do this is what they will become afraid.
All right.
And then we must also, I think it's one of the things we are talking about, advocacy. It's something that starts from someone. I remember during the time of the monarchical system in UK, when the king was all and all, Alpha and Omega. It's through advocacy. Somebody started pushing it, and before you know it, was able to gain momentum, and people joined the push. And before you talk about it, and down usher their civil war. But that's by the way. But it is in the olden days. But I'm talking about the power of advocacy. We can collectively say no politician will come and start sharing rice. It's an insult. Sharing items before you, for me, insult. During the election, they remember scholarships. Insults. They will just be more like somebody pushing you and spitting on you.
I went for one political event. Somebody who was contesting for House of Rep seat, and he was talking to the people that if they elect him, that he's going to ensure that agriculture becomes, a thing for everybody. He's going to ensure that certain roads were constructed and what have you done. Nobody was even asking about the primary mandate of the lawmaker.
Apart from the primary, because the people,
nobody was asking.
Like
we need to run off on this conversation.
People were clapping. I was asking my clapping on what?
Ignorance is bliss. Haven't you heard?
I don't know how we can make our legislation to be truly independent, because we've seen the control of the executive, the executive trying to determine who becomes the Senate president and the speaker, and also the speakers at different state assemblies. We should find a way to make it truly independent. If these organs, if these bodies are truly independent, in any way we can go a long way, having that issue of power separation principles as envisaged in a democratic system like Nigeria. We have, everybody has got role to play. The masses have their role, of course. The politicians, just like I say, they see it as business. Politics for them is their shop. The way you go to the market and open your shop, that's the way they see politics. They find a way to scheme you, manipulate you, maneuver you, give you that peanut, and then get whatever. And see,
right.
That's just what we have.
It's rather unfortunate. I am going to conclude on this conversation. I'm going to conclude on this conversation by sharing a story. A few days ago, a friend on social media said she had to waybill her voter card because she forgot in the village by air to Abuja. It shows a level of commitment to Vision 2027. And of course, the average Nigerian who has, maybe for one reason or the other, given up on voting during elections, you might want to reconsider. And so I'd like to remind you that INEC, that's the Independent National Electoral Commission, has reopened voter registration from the 11th of May 2026, and it will end on July 10, 2026. So give or take, you have at least up to 40 to 45 days to do this. Now make this a priority. Also during this period, if you are already a registered voter but your card has been defaced or it has one issue or the other that could stop you from voting, this is your window to go correct it. Correct your bio data, replace lost or damaged voter cards. You can also transfer your registration if you probably have your card registered that you vote in Lagos, but now you are in Onitsha. Please transfer your registration so you can vote from where you are very sure you will be at by January 2026. At the center of this conversation is you as the most important stakeholder. If If you say Nigeria is not working fine, you better do something to change it. Social media banters, the ethnic divisions that we have become very used to on social media would not bring us the desired change. Today, we are leaving this conversation now to move over to Ebola. I understand there is a national advisory on that. According to reports, I am going to quickly read out what the Nigerian Center for Disease Control has come out to say about Ebola. I am going to be taking this report from the Punch newspaper. Right here, the report says that the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention has placed Lagos, FCT, and several other states on high Ebola alert following the outbreak of the deadly Bundibugyo strain of Ebola virus disease in parts of East and Central Africa. In a national public health advisory issued to commissioners for health across the country, the agency warned that Nigeria faces a high risk of importing the virus due to increasing regional transmission, international travel, porous borders, and population movement. And then, Tony, quickly, let's touch on this, also reminding Nigerians of what the symptoms are. You never can tell.
We know very well that Ebola, you talk about the symptoms: high fever, weakness, headache, muscle pain, even vomiting, diarrhea, stomach pain. These are certain or some symptoms of Ebola. And remember, this is something that is synonymous and historically attributed or often reported in Democratic Republic of Congo. I remember it was first identified there in 1976 near the Ebola River. There is a river in DR Congo known as Ebola River, and since then the DRC has experienced numerous outbreaks from time to time and also remains one of the countries most affected by the disease. You are talking about the one that was common, where we saw Nigerian Nollywood, where they were using it for their films. The largest outbreak was in 2018 and also 2020, between 2018 and 2020. We've seen cases being reported, and in that time, during the 2018 to 2020 cases, about 2,292 people died, and it became the second largest Ebola outbreak ever recorded in the world after the 2014-2016 West African epidemic. So currently, as we speak now, DRC is currently facing another Ebola outbreak caused by they say is what Bundibugyo strain of the virus, because the virus keeps changing, keeps multiplying, keeps adapting to new environment and so many things. The point is that it was recognized this May, and is also in that Utiri province of DRC. But just as the Nigerian government has taken certain proactive and preventive measures to place certain places, because we know some of these trans-border communications movements, these things we know very well. Many of our people are in DRC, many, and they do come back. We must put in some of these safeguards at different terminals, especially entry terminals or exit terminals of this very country, because we know it's a deadly virus. Ebola virus disease is deadly. It can spread rapidly in community. The death rate is so high. Anybody that contracts it, in fact, the rate of the person surviving is lower as against the rate of the person dying. So we must take cognizance and also take proactive measures. We know the outbreak in 2018, that was the most popular one, but the one of 2018 was the second largest outbreak as against the one of 2014, 2016, as I mentioned earlier on. We must take it seriously. You must.
Right then, let's go on a commercial break. When we come back, we open up the phone lines. So stay the Polity, Udala Radio 104.7 FM.
You're listening to Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
Julie, these people did too much for your face now, no?
Oh boy, I don't tire. Even the rashes and eczema for my body, if you see them, you go run. I don't try every soap and cream, but you know they come out.
No worry, when you take MSC Calskin C cream Hamaram, then go come out by force.
You say waiting, MLC Calskin C cream?
Bam! That be the new formula for take fight pimples, rashes, eczema, dandruff, boils, whitlow, ringworm, scabies, shaving rashes, foot rots and more. Just clean the affected part with soap and sponge and and rub the cream to enter the skin wella 3 to 4 times per daily, and everything go disappear within 3 days. Fiam! Now product of Jonko Ventures Nigeria Limited, number 7 AZ Huako Street, Mbipa Layout, off kilometer 7 Onisha Owerri Road, Onisha. Phone 08033941979 or
09136855119.
MSC Caskin C Cream, War Against Skin Infections, African Gold Award winner 2011.
Are you looking for a perfect space to make your events unforgettable? From child dedications to weddings, concerts, birthday parties, crusades, or even corporate events. City Hall Entertainment Ventures presents City Hall, Awada, located at number 10 Ijala Street, near Ukewu Junction, Awada Obosi. With a 600 seating capacity, state-of-the-art stage, standard wash facilities, a massive parking space, 24/7 lighting, and proper ventilation and cooling system to keep your guests super comfortable. City Hall Entertainment Ventures, and even cooling equipment to make sure that all your drinks are chilled. For bookings and reservations, please call 0803-324-2806 or 0906-000-7617. Hurry now to number 10 Ijala Street, Awada for all bookings and reservations and get a 10% discount.
Udala Radio, 104.7 FM. You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
Your time to join the conversation. Put a call across to 0803-221-6973 or 0803-827-6694. And of course, you have 2 minutes. Please be as objective as possible. You can drop your comment on Facebook as well. Good morning.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, Manu.
Your voice is not very clear. Can you please move around a bit?
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
I hear me.
Yes, this is better.
Yeah, and what I need to say, because I listened to analysis of Mr. Tony this morning, I totally understand that only what can save Nigeria in this country is just a single tenor. Just a single tenor. If we can have the people that can sit on it, at least bring the bill to House of Reps and take it to the clinic, and at least to attend to it and make sure that they pass it as it is. Right? Because what we are talking about all these things now, as the citizens do, based on what is going on in the country, the people cannot resist. Because it's inside, they are up there, taking decisions. But the only thing that we say now, what is not passed in law, it's not to work. The people that is running around now want to vote them as our Senate, want to vote them as our House of Reps. If they went to that, they would come to the ruling party. Let them have a returning ticket. That is only what is matter most for them. All the people that get to the Senate with the matter of people, and get to the House of Reps with the matter of people, what is happening? And they are in the other chamber there. So then you know that what I don't need to say is that let us hope that a day will come that will pass a bill that will not have a single tenor. If you say just 6 years, after 6 years, we are not going to see you again. Because what exactly you see that Nigeria can do now? Are we going to go to riot? Are we going to go to stand the street of protest? That you know that before you do anything protest in Nigeria, yes, the police people will try to shoot people directly. So what exactly that you see that the citizens will do? Because there's so many things you are talking about things that here. But we're going to war with Scotland. So the only thing I appeal on, let us find a way to pass the bill that after 6 years to go. We won't see anymore. We know that you're not going to come to power again. Rather than you want your first tenor, you're not thinking of the second tenor. Forget about government. You thought that school that politics is part of government. Fine and good. But if you have not this year to think, whether you want to do that, you know that in the next election you're not going to be in the ballot. That's not the one we save Nigeria. Good morning.
Good morning. 0803-221-6973. Frank, is there something you'd like to say?
Oh, let's go on.
Good morning.
Good morning to the chief of Chinedu.
Good morning.
Frank Level, I agree with you. Dr.
Yes, good morning.
The voice of Uyo State from Asada. You see, listening to what one of the somebody said, it's also pathetic that we're having such a situation in the country up to this moment. Because this government, we are among the people that criticized the government of Jonathan. Now, after criticizing the government of Jonathan, you are now doing something worse than Jonathan did. In fact, Jonathan's regime was never like this. We had things. We bought things in a triple rate. But today, how much is a bag of garlic? How much is a bag of rice? How much is a bag of beans? How much? Can you even go to the market and buy a piece of yam for 150? But back then we did it. But these men were busy complaining. Now they're trying to tell me that this time that we used to buy one piece of yam at the rate of 3,000 naira is better than when we used to buy a piece of yam at 150. Is that what they're trying to tell us? You know, it's so crazy. And after all of this, they will still come out to praise themselves and say that they have done well. They have did this. The country is now in the state in the position that it's supposed to be. But when you go to the book of Proverbs, it says that you shouldn't praise yourself. You should allow people to praise you. But the government of APC from the time of Buhari down to the time of Tinubu right now, they are doing otherwise. They are proven to be more wiser than the Bible, praising themselves, not leaving the citizens to praise them, not leaving the journalists to do the analysis and do some fact-checking and do the assessments about the government. They are not praising themselves. And it's also crazy that we are in such a situation. Look at every year and then people are praying for the country to be divided, to be split. Because of what? Because of their failed to do what they're supposed to do. Look at the level of insecurity. You understand? So when you look at all of these things, you realize that they have done nothing, absolutely nothing. Forget about all this investment, Indian investment, bongo that they have brought to the country. Those things, I see those things that's washing the outer part of the pot and now leaving the inner part of the pot, which is the most important part of the pot. So I think what we Nigerians need to do, apart from voting, we need to be petitioning some institutions that needs to put these people on their feet. Petition them. And talking about the insecurity, we need to group ourselves. If it's going to take off anything to protect our society, our community, let's do it. If there is anything good that we got to do to protect our community, let's do it. Let's forget about politics. Let's forget about these people, because you are there talking about the governor, the president, to come here to come and protect us. They're going to do nothing. They are proven to be useless to us. So why waiting for them? Group yourself and protect yourselves. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Let's hear you. 0803-221-6973. Good morning.
Hello?
Yes, good morning. Where have you been?
It's a very pleasant day. Sorry, I'm waking up and calling, but it's okay. You know what? We talk about children. Now we are talking of Ebola. Our government seems to be oblivious of the fact that children are at risk. For whatever reason, I can't understand. Our standard of living has gone below fair. In Nigeria, that says managing lying is at least 80% down. And what are we doing? And those are to rule us or do whatever are busy campaigning. Who are they campaigning for? Who? Are they short providence to give us space for them to be able to campaign and win elections? Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Have a good
I
day
hope you
too.
manage my voice.
Have a good day too. We also hope you're doing okay. You've been away for quite some time now. 0803-221-6973, 0803-827-6694. Let's hear you. Don't forget to drop your comment on Facebook, Udala Radio 104.7 FM, 0803-221-6973. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, my name is Frank.
Go ahead,
I'm
Frank.
calling from Monica.
Go ahead.
I quite agree with Tony on advocacy. And my solution is go to the churches. All the churches must get involved. I don't know why they are shying away. The churches, they have the strength, the number, and the government will listen to them. And because they have the control of all the people, all the population. So it is the church that will lead this vanguard, that will lead this advocacy. I don't know why our churches are shying away. When there was problem in South Africa, we had Bishop Belmoderewa, Bishop Tutu, who were leading. So let the churches, if I would suggest to Tony, if it means going to all our churches, to tell them your congregation, look at what they will do. Let them stop accepting money from people, and then let them get determined to vote out the government.
All right then.
No, we talk too much. The action is less.
All right then. So we need to be more action. Let's talk. The studio lines are 0803-221-6973 or 0803-827-6694. The numbers we use for the Children's Day registration are not the studio lines, please. Hello, good morning. Yes, good morning. There is so much noise coming from your background. Can you please take care of that? Good morning.
Hello?
Yes, good morning.
Hello?
Hello?
No, how will we go?
0803-221-6973, 0803-827-6694. Hello there.
Hello?
Hello? Yes, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Hello?
We can hear you. Good morning. Please go ahead. Good morning. Are you there? Hello? Good morning. Are you there? Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Yeah, my name is Mrs. Chimeze calling from Iowa.
Let us hear you, ma'am.
Okay, so we are encouraging everybody to go and get their voter's card and vote. But
Absolutely.
my question is this. Judging from the last election, that we struggled from morning to in the evening time, yet we couldn't vote. And now everybody is busy trying to get their voter's card. That day, the same thing, we don't know. I'm not praying that it will happen again. But I believe they're also making arrangements to rig or do whatever they can again to assume office. So, what is the threat of the common man? Wasting your whole day trying to vote, at the end of the day, they will rig themselves back then. So, the whole thing is tiring. The last election, we went there from 7 in the morning to I was accepted around 6 in the evening. Yet at the end of the day, I couldn't vote. The whole day just wasted like that. And at the end of the day, the election, they just did it anyhow. So what assurance are we getting this time that everything will not be in West?
Okay.
Thank you.
Can I have this conversation with you? Give me a minute. Hello? Hello, are you there?
Yeah, you said?
Okay. Let me engage you. Give me 30 seconds of your time. So you're asking for assurance. You are all the assurance you need. Ask me how. We really need to get involved in this entire thing. We shouldn't leave politics for politicians alone. You know the party you are supporting. Go register in the party. Volunteer yourself as an agent at the polling units around you on the day of election. That is one way of making sure that your votes and the votes of the people around you is secure. Now, if we can get at least one Nigerian who genuinely is screaming about change on social media to volunteer to be a party agent across all the wards we have in Nigeria, maybe we have half of the problem solved. Don't you think so? I mean, it's really safe to be a party agent. There is no risk there.
For the rest of corruption in Nigeria is so much that you are here thinking of a way forward, and they are there planning on how to rig the election.
Can we think of a way forward, get to the battlefield and see what strategies they have brought, instead of sitting back at home and crying defeat and foul? They must have come with a strategy, one we haven't gotten to the field to witness.
We'll try our best.
Thank you very much. I hope to see you try your best.
Let me add something.
On January 16th.
Nanda, she had dropped her call. You know, that's something I said, that we are yet to come to terms with that. We live in a country where we have developed political leaders who do not have ears. We will cry, they do not hear. We shout, they do not hear. But the question is, why have they developed deaf ears? It's because we have given them the leeway. We are giving them that impression that they can do anything, get away with it, and nothing happens. And they go ahead to do it brazenly, knowing that we're not going to do nothing. Now, how have we encouraged this? I talked about how we have enabled these things. A politician comes to you asking for your vote. This is an opportunity for you to negotiate and get commitment from that very person for the entire good of the people, but you do not do that. Rather, what you do is that you sing his songs, cheer him, call him all manner of names that, Igwendieze, Nwatana Yoeze. That is what you do whenever you have time to interact with this very person. And you hail him from now till tomorrow. At the end of the day, he brings the rice he has cooked, he shares. He brings the cash he came with, he shares. And then he leaves. We didn't get any commitment from him. From time to time, they call you for meetings. You go. At the end of the day, they make promises of 20,000 naira on the voting day. You collect. On that voting day, you go to the polling unit. You might vote for him or vote for another person who offers bigger on that election day. So how do you now tell the person is going to take you seriously? Because the person knows that you don't know anything. You don't know anything. So he can just come to you, do any kind of abracadabra. You agree with him, he goes there. Then serve the master he wants to serve. After 4 years, he will still come back to you knowing that you don't have sense. In quote, do you understand? He will come back to you knowing that whatever I tell them, they will still accept and still vote me. Okay, let me give you an instance. What I'm saying now is not to discredit anybody. 2 days ago, we're talking about Omar Gege leaving APC. And I heard people, and I was hearing people saying that he serves him right. That he did this, he did that. He had moved to the NDC. Don't be surprised on the election day, the same people who are saying that that APC served him right, they will go on that same election day because he's in the party with P2OB. They will see vote NDC across board, right? And at the end of the day, we'll still come back to cry that these people don't take us seriously because we have enabled that to a reasonable extent.
What is this news about Oyo local government people protesting to Lighthouse?
Yes, they are, you know.
Currently as we speak?
Exactly.
Saying Ojikam won the primaries?
That's what they're saying. You know, when it comes to politics, of course, you have different sides. Everybody picks their side. So if the government is going to hear them, we do not know. But all I know is that by the end of the day, of course, we now know how government responded to what they're asking for.
Hoping that they don't have quarrels over they promised us 7,000, they're giving us 4,000, because I'm seeing people's parents that should be in the market or their business places now carrying placards this beautiful Friday morning.
You know, on this platform, I shared my experience that I went for a political event where the coordinator said this man is an aspirant and he has come to interact with you. Please feel free to ask him any question you want. And I saw people raising their hands. Guess what? The same people who were at that forum, we are shouting them down. This is not what we came here for. Can't we go? Now, only choice join our question. Exactly. Now time man aguna agwe. People were saying aguna agwe. So that is the idea we are giving them. So they will come at any point in time, do any kind of abracadabra, knowing that nobody gets to question. But by the time we have made our leaders or political leaders to become afraid of us, afraid in the sense that somebody who did not perform will be afraid to come back to you to ask for your vote again. That's the only time they will have some sense of
they would not even have urgency. The nerves to not perform, because they would come home after not performing, Abi.
Look at what happened to Keir Starmer, UK Prime Minister, recently. At the point in time, we saw about 70 members of the parliament asking him to resign. They are of the same party with him. We saw some people he appointed resigning from his government. Why? They went for an election and they lost. Now, why did they lose that election? Because people in UK were no longer comfortable with his policies. There were some policies he was implementing, and many people were no longer comfortable, and they were challenging those things towards their reps. And their reps began to kick, asking the man, you have to leave. Now, why were the reps asking the man to leave? Because the people who they were representing were wanting pressure on them. So if you understand these principles, knowing that we have power, because sometimes people will tell you that our vote do not count because of what we have seen. But I must tell you that that vote that does not count is still the same vote that the man comes to spend billions to buy.
All right. Let's go to Facebook now.
Okay. So let's see what we have here. We have some reactions here on our Facebook page. This one is from Mastobe. He says the fear in Nigeria now is about Mr. P2B, the presidential flag bearer of NDC. If he's elected as president of Federal Republic of Nigeria, about 60% of APC members will be accommodated in different correctional service centers in Nigeria. And he says politicians should not use the campaign-based manifesto as an opposition. Okay, I'm trying to articulate what you put there. Okay, as an opposition to implement without adequate arrangement. He posted from Fege. This one says, Chisco Savior says, the problem with Nigeria is multiculturalism, and any country with multiculturalism can't survive. He posted from Ogidi. Christopher from Abatan Sube says, sponsoring headlines from different media will not put food on the table of masses. Where poverty level keeps increasing, hunger on the rise, and insecurity affecting all sectors of the economy. What manner of achievement is the president talking about? Sebastian Abigwe says, Tony, just like you said, I always say that it's good for us to get involved in the electoral process. Now, how can you evaluate our involvement in the last election, where I believe that we did our best, but INEC and judiciary did what they termed as their best by nailing the people of Nigeria on the cross. Young Gobewa says the federal government of Nigeria should declare state police mandatory to all states, including FCT, and the federal government should take responsibility of payment of salary in high take homes. With this solution, every average youth will like to join the state police to earn a living for their family. At least an average youth in Nigeria that did not attend school would like to be recruited. Okay. Dr. Misimo Lebra from Owerri says 3 years of uninterrupted hunger, 3 years of uninterrupted darkness, excruciating pains, anxiety killings, uninterrupted corruption, tumbling kidnappings, and tumbling economy. The economic situation of this country is biting harder and an embarrassment. Our economy is in shambles. Some people are dying on a daily basis. And Chukwemeka Anthony says it's not just okay to be in the studio and encourage people to go for their CRV. Please walk around, monitor them, do investigation, and see. I don't care attitude of these next staff conducting the CVR, especially the ones at the Onitsha North Local Government Area Secretariat. They are not serious. they hardly come. If you burn transport 3 times in this hard time without any positive impact, is enough for one to get tired. Okay, of course, somebody has been delegated to do that. We are still going to bring it out a report. And this one says, Ugochukwu Frank says 3 years ago, the president walked to the podium and said subsidy is gone. That single sentence pushed 7 million more Nigerians into poverty in 12 months. Today, he wants applause for commissioning CNG stations that 70% of Nigerians cannot access. And he says the audacity is Olympic level. Okay, this one is the last one we are going to take this morning from Mazimuri. He says the 3-year celebration of Mr. President is nothing to say. Why should he be marking his 3 years in office while many school children are still in captivity? Many Nigerians are experiencing insecurity, poor power supply, and a heavy hunger approach on daily basis. In fact, there's nothing to celebrate about it. He posted from Odabo. Other persons who posted Godswill Ozibo, Callistus Chibike, Jepu Bishop, Amara Michael, Iko Okam, Basilogo. Thank you all for posting. Plenty of them there.
All right then. Franklin, what are your final words? We're leaving the studio now.
So I'll tell another story, but very, very short one. I want Nigerians to look at this. We know Matthias Ezeako. He's contesting for House of Reps. I think also one or thereabout, under NDC. But something is happening to him now. I want him to use him as an example. Something is happening to him. Yesterday, some concerned persons or the youth of also one local government area, they said they are rejecting him. Reason is because of the statements he made about Christianity. They said that P2B believes in Christianity, but he does not believe in Christianity, and he has, he
calls himself Alu Melondioka.
Yeah, so he said he has made some unprintable comment about Christianity, and that there's going to be a clash of interest between the person they believe in, P2B, and Matthias, and they say they are rejecting him.
But religion is inconsequential. It's immaterial.
Now, why I'm saying this, if people of Uzo Wana can try to recall a statement he made about Christianity and try to use this to pin him down, how often do we recall what other politicians do or what they say and try to use that to hold them accountable?
All right.
Do you understand? Because the thing is, someone talked about the issue of going to go and vote. We are not oblivious of the fact that election here is in shambles. But I keep on saying it is the way it is because we have become so docile that these people believe that they can do anything
and get away with it. Thank you for being a part of today's edition of the Polity. Next week, Monday till Friday, we make a return 9:15 down to 11 a.m. right here on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. I am Chisom Chinedu. Good morning to you.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM.
Udala Radio.